This video will offend the wrong people, and that's exactly the point. Because we live in a time where being offended is more fashionable than being wise. We outbursts, jealousy, impulse, the inability to pause, to breathe, to think. One small inconvenience and they explode. Someone disagrees and they can't handle it. The world doesn't go their way and they spiral. They think it's passion. They think it's realness. They call it not tolerating disrespect. But what it really is weakness, unmasked, unfiltered, undeniable. Let me put it plainly. If you don't control your emotions will control your life, your words, your decisions, your relationships, your peace. Gone, because you never built the muscle of restraint. Seneca said it best, anger is a brief madness. He wasn't being poetic, he was being clinical, because anger and its cousins, jealousy, outrage, revenge, are all forms of temporary insanity. You feel powerful in the moment, but you're losing everything in silence. Let me show you how this plays out, with a real story. 2014, A-list actor, household name, million-dollar brand deals, every major studio lining up to cast him. Until the incident. A fan approached him at a restaurant, asked politely for a photo. He was tired, annoyed. Instead of saying no calmly, he snapped. He threw a glass, screamed in front of families, had to be escorted out by security. Someone filmed it. And in under 24 hours, that clip was everywhere. Sponsorships pulled, projects cancelled, reputation destroyed. And for what? A 30-second emotional outburst. That's all it took. Years of work, gone. Because he couldn't do one thing, control himself. And here's what's worse. He apologized. He said all the right things, but it didn't matter. Because when people see your chaos, they never forget it. Your worst moment becomes your only story. Proverbs 25:28 says, "A man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls." Think about that. A city with no walls, no defenses, no discipline, open to destruction from anything and anyone. That's what emotional weakness does to you. It makes you a target, a victim of every mood, every trigger, every comment, every insult. Let me ask you, how easily do you snap when someone cuts you off in traffic, when your partner says the wrong thing, when your boss criticizes your work? Do you breathe or do you break? Do you respond or do you react? Because here's what the Stoics knew and what modern people forgot. Power isn't how loudly you react. Power is how calmly you respond. They trained for this. They practiced discomfort. They visualized loss. They prepared for setbacks on purpose so that when life hit them, they were unmoved. They were stone in a storm. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You can't control the world, but you can control yourself. And if you can't do that, then nothing else matters. Here's what people don't tell you. Your future depends more on your temperament than your talent. A single burst of emotion can end your marriage, kill a friendship, get you fired, land you in jail, ruin your life. Not because you're evil, not because you're stupid, but because for 10 seconds, you let your feelings become your master. And let's be clear, we all feel emotion, even the Stoics. They were longer than trendy. But validation chasers don't want real. They want now. They want instantly liked, instantly shared, instantly affirmed. They want viral, not valuable. And in the process, they become a version of themselves that isn't even them anymore. They fake confidence. They curate their personality. They filter their lives, literally and emotionally, all to look impressive to people who don't even care. That's the tragedy. You give away your peace for an algorithm. You shape your identity for people who'll forget your name tomorrow. Psychology calls it what it is: dopamine addiction. Every notification is a hit. Every heart is a high. Every OMG, you're so real is a temporary sugar rush. But like any addiction, you need more posts, more approval, more attention. And the second it stops, withdrawal, anxiety, insecurity. You begin to wonder, am I still important? And that's when it hits you. You've built your worth on sand. Marcus Aurelius said, "The approval of others is a delusion. You have no obligation to be what they expect of you." Read that again. Because most people live their entire lives being what others expect of them. And it's not because they're weak, it's because they're scared. Scared that if they stopped performing, they'd be invisible. But here's the thing. You were not born to be seen. You were born to be solid, to be unshakable, to know your values even when no one's clapping, to be so rooted in truth that silence feels like power, not punishment. If you're brave, turn off social media for 72 hours, delete the apps, disable the notifications, disengage from the feedback loop. Then journal what happens. Notice the anxiety, the twitch, the instinct to reach for your phone. The moment you feel like you don't exist because no one is reacting to you, that's not just a habit, that's a mirror. And if what you see in that mirror scares you, good. It means there's still time to change. Because the truth is, the more desperate you are to be seen, the less you're really being. You become a performance, a persona, a puppet. But wisdom doesn't perform. Wisdom exists. It doesn't chase applause. It lives in silence, acts in integrity, and stands tall, even when no one is watching. So ask yourself, if the internet disappeared tomorrow, who would you be? Would you still matter to yourself? Would you still know who you are? Because if the answer is no, then you were never living. You were only displaying. They'd rather be liked than be wise. But if you're here, you already know which one matters more. Next up, the fifth sign of a stupid person. Sign 5. They blame everyone else. Fools find excuses. The wise find a way. This one stings, because it's the easiest trap to fall into, and the hardest one to admit you're stuck in. The moment life gets hard, the fool doesn't ask, "What can I do?" They ask, "Who can I blame?" And that single habit, that single reflex, is why they stay broke, stay bitter, and stay stuck. It's not my fault. I didn't get the same chances. My parents didn't raise me right. The system is broken. The boss hates me. My ex ruined me. My zodiac sign made me do it. We've heard it all. We've said it all, because blaming others feels good. It gives you a villain to point to, a reason to not change, a story that says, "It's out of my hands. I'm the victim here." But that story, it has no ending, only repetition. Psychology calls it learned helplessness, a belief that you're powerless even when you're not. You tell yourself, "I can't," and then you don't. You say, "Why bother?" And so you never try. But here's the truth. You're not stuck because of the world. You're stuck because you won't own your part in it. Epictetus put it best. You control your response. That is your kingdom. Think about that. The world may be unfair. Life may be chaotic. People may betray you, judge you, fail you. But what no one, not even fate, can take from you is your response. And if you surrender that, you've given away the only power you've ever really had. Let me tell you a story. There were two brothers raised in the same home. Their father was abusive, alcoholic, unstable. One brother grew up and became the same man, violent, addicted, bitter. He said, "What did you expect? Look at my childhood." The other brother, he became calm, disciplined, a mentor to others. When asked how he turned out so well, he said, "What did you expect? Look at my childhood." Same environment, same trauma. But one used it as an excuse, the other as a reason. That's the line between the foolish and the wise. One blames the past, the other builds from it. Here's what most people won't tell you. Blaming is easy, it's addictive, it feeds the ego. It says, "I'm not wrong, the world is." But there's a hidden cost. Every time you blame, you delay growth, you delay healing, you delay success, you delay peace. Because so long as it's someone else's fault, you don't have to change. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But the foolish mind reads that and says, "Well, that's easy for him. He was an emperor." Exactly. He was an emperor, with enemies trying to kill him, plagues ripping through Rome, political betrayal everywhere. And still, he never blamed. He owned every moment of his mind. Because the throne doesn't protect you from chaos. Only clarity does. These are the quiet warriors, not because they never got hurt, but because they refused to stay there. They didn't blame, they built. And that's the thing. Pain is inevitable. Blame is optional. And fools will always choose blame, because it protects the ego. Wisdom, it shatters the ego. So ask yourself, who are you blaming right now? What excuses have you been repeating like a lullaby? What story are you telling yourself about why you haven't changed? Is it your parents, your past, your partner, your job, your country? Now ask the question that turns your whole life around. What part of this do I control? Even if it's just your attitude, even if it's just your effort, even if it's just your ability to not give up, that's where power lives. Not in fairness, not in comfort, but in ownership. Right now, make a list. Write down 5 things you're responsible for that you've been avoiding. Be honest. No filters, no justifications. Your health, your finances, your reactions, your laziness, your addictions, your mindset. Own it. Because once you own it, you can change it. Let me leave you with this. The fool blames the storm. The Stoic sets his sail. You're going to face chaos. You're going to get hit. But how you respond, that's on you. Coming up, the 6th sign of a stupid person. Sign 6. They argue for ego. They don't argue to learn, they argue to win. And there's a difference, a dangerous one. Because when the goal is victory, not truth, you stop listening, you stop growing, you stop thinking, you just fight. Not because you're right, but because your ego is fragile and can't afford to be wrong. This is the new sport. Debate, not dialogue. Reactions, not reason. Arguments, not answers. The louder you are, the more you're winning. The quicker your comeback, the more people clap. But no one is actually listening, because no one's actually learning. They're not there to seek truth. They're there to perform dominance. And here's what makes it worse. This kind of stupidity feels smart. You hit back with the perfect insult. You trap them in a contradiction. You walk away with that smug little voice in your head saying, "Got 'em." But what did you really get? Did the argument elevate you or just inflate you? Because most people don't argue from strength. They argue from fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of looking weak, fear of being outthought in public. So they raise their voice, interrupt, insult, Let me ask you something. Have you ever won a fight and lost your peace? You got the last word. You embarrassed them. You had people cheering. But inside, you felt nothing. Maybe even regret. Shame. That feeling of, I could have handled that better. That's your soul reminding you. Winning the argument means nothing if you lose your composure doing it. That's the Stoic way. To sit in the storm and not flinch. To hear the insult and not bleed. To feel the trigger and not pull it. Because the goal is never to win. The goal is to understand. And if the other person doesn't want truth, then leave them to their chaos. You've got better places to be. Here's your Stoic challenge. The next time someone tries to argue, pause. Don't react. Don't defend. Don't retaliate. Just ask, why are they saying this? And if the answer is ego, pain, insecurity, or projection, walk away. Because the strongest mind isn't the one that speaks last. It's the one that stays still. They don't argue to learn. They argue to win. But if you're here, you know the truth. Winning doesn't matter. Understanding does. Sign 7. They live short term. A stupid person lives for now. A wise person lives for legacy. And in today's world, now is everywhere. Now pleasure. Now escape. Now validation. Now comfort. Everything is urgent. Everything is temporary. Everything is impulsive. But no one is asking the real question. What's the cost? Because short-term living feels good until it wrecks everything. This is what stupidity looks like with glitter on. It's reckless, it's chaotic, it's loud, it's marketed as freedom. But under the surface, it's addiction, it's fear, it's avoidance. Because if you don't have a future, you start living like one doesn't exist. They blow money they don't have, chase relationships that drain them, abuse their bodies, numb their minds, refuse to plan, laugh at discipline, mock wisdom. And then they wake up one day, older, tired, broke, bitter, wondering where it all went wrong. Marcus Aurelius warned, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. He wasn't promoting recklessness. He was teaching presence. Awareness of death isn't a license to waste life. It's a call to honor it. Because the wise don't live like today is all they have. They live like today is the foundation for everything they'll ever become. But the fool, he doesn't build, he burns. Let me show you what this looks like when it goes too far. He was 22, rising athlete, D1 scholarship, eyes on the draft, brands reaching out, his face on magazine covers, and one night, after a win, he celebrated. There was alcohol, there were friends, there were bad ideas. One of them, let's race. Midnight, 2 cars, high speed, no seatbelt. He ran a red light. Another car entered the intersection. A crash, a scream, silence. One person died. He survived. He never played again. Lost his scholarship, faced prison, faced himself. One night, one decision, one moment of living for now, and everything he had, gone. And here's what he said later. I thought I had time. That's the illusion of the short-term mind, that there's always more time, that consequences are far away, that you'll get serious later, but later never comes. Only regret does. The Stoics had a phrase for this. Premeditatio malorum. It means foresee the worst, not to fear it, but to prepare for it, to play the tape forward, to ask, if I keep doing this, where does it end? Because most people live like their future is a guarantee. It's not. And every day you act without vision, you drift closer to destruction. Aurelius again, what you do now echoes in eternity. Let that hit. Every habit, every choice, every wasted day, it's building something, a future, a fate, a legacy. And whether it's beautiful or broken, is on you. Let me ask you, are your habits taking care of your future self? Or are they silently sabotaging them? Are you investing in the person you want to be? Or slowly becoming someone you'll have to recover from? Because living for now feels like freedom. But long-term regret is a cage far worse than discipline. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more from imagination than from reality." But here's what people forget. Imagination can also save you. Imagine your future. Feel it. Picture the life that would make your future self proud. Now ask, are today's choices building that? Or are they wrecking it? Here's the challenge. Tonight, write a letter to your future self. 10 years from now. Describe the life you hope they're living, who they've become, what they've achieved, what they had to give up to get there, what they refused to compromise on, what you hope they've never forgotten. Seal that letter. Put it somewhere you'll find it again, and every decision you face going forward. Ask yourself, would my future self thank me for this, or hate me for it? That's how legacies are built. One aligned decision at a time. A stupid person lives for now. A wise person lives for legacy. Don't just live. Build. Don't just spend time. Invest it. Don't just react. Reflect, because what you do today becomes who you are tomorrow. Now let's talk about the opposite of stupid. The wise man stays unseen but undeniable. Let's take a breath, step back, and shift our focus. We've seen what stupidity looks like: loud, reactive, addicted, desperate, entitled, uncontrolled, short-sighted. But now, let's see what wisdom looks like. It doesn't scream, it doesn't flex, it doesn't post every win or argue every insult. It moves quietly, but it leaves a trace, a legacy. 1. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, commander of legions, ruler of the known world. But here he is, alone, pen in hand, journaling, not giving orders, not celebrating conquest, just reflecting, writing to himself. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say. No camera, no followers, no applause. Try to look wise. Just be wise. In silence, in struggle, in everyday decisions. That's where greatness begins. You've seen the 7 signs. Now let's make sure you never become them again. Let's finish this. If you saw yourself in any of these, good. That means you can change. So let's pause here. Not to judge, not to label, but to look in the mirror, clearly, calmly, without filters. We've talked about 7 signs of a stupid person, but these aren't just things other people do. These are traps we all fall into when we stop paying attention. And Stoicism is about waking up. Recap: the 7 signs. Let's go back briefly. 1. They talk more than they think. They use words to hide emptiness, not reveal depth. 2. They never reflect. Life moves, but they don't move with it. No learning, just loops. 3. They react emotionally to everything, trapped in ego, swinging between pride and rage. 4. They seek validation non-stop. Please like me is louder than their actual purpose. 5. They blame everyone else. Responsibility is poison to them. Victimhood is their crutch. 6. They refuse to learn. Reading feels boring. Growth feels hard. 7. They live short term. Chaos today. Regret tomorrow. Do you recognize any of that in yourself? You're not alone. We all carry fragments of these habits, but here's what separates the fool from the wise. A Stoic doesn't pretend to be perfect. They simply refuse to stay foolish. The Stoics understood that wisdom isn't a trophy, it's a discipline. Marcus Aurelius wasn't born enlightened. He practiced, he journaled, he failed, he tried again. Epictetus didn't lecture from palaces. He spoke truth as a disabled slave in exile. Seneca wrote letters during political collapse. In chaos, he searched for peace. They chose wisdom. So the real question isn't, am I stupid? It's, do I want to stay that way? Because once you're aware of your own self-deception, you can no longer hide behind it. That's what Stoicism demands, that you observe your life without denial, that you strip away the noise, that you choose to act, not react. The Stoic path isn't glamorous, it's quiet, it's hard, it's slow, but it's how you build something that lasts, because the fool craves applause, but the Stoic builds legacy. So if you recognized yourself in this video, good. That means you're awake. That means you're ready. That means you're not beyond change. The fool blames. The Stoic observes. The wise act. So act. Silently, powerfully, wisely. Let's wrap with this. If any part of this video stirred something in you, don't just keep scrolling. Sit with it, reflect on it, then move differently. Not louder, just wiser. Comment, I choose Stoicism, if you've had enough of the noise. Let this be your declaration. If even one sign hit too close to home, good. That means you're awake now. You're done letting the world program your mind like background music. Like if you saw yourself in any of the signs, this isn't about shame, it's about sharpening. You can't change what you refuse to confront. So if any of those signs exposed your shadow, hit the like button as a quiet nod to yourself. That's the start of inner strength. Subscribe if you're building strength in silence. There are people building empires in their mind while others scroll. If you're one of the few choosing silence over noise, self-control over chaos, this channel is for you. No trends, no fluff, just you, your thoughts, and your becoming. Share this with someone who needs to hear it but won't like it. Yeah, you already thought of them. That friend who can't stop blaming everyone. That person chasing attention like oxygen. That cousin who lives one reckless impulse at a time. Share this with them. They won't like it, but maybe they'll wake up.